What's up, guys? Welcome back to the third episode of the 5D Spiritual Warrior Podcast. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Corey Engelhart,
Sean Doherty.
Alright, good. Let's go. Let's get into it, baby. Today we're talking all things densities and consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
Right here I got my favorite book, Children of the Matrix by David Icke. Check it out on davidicke.com. I'm going to read you a little excerpt. It's a mouthful, but it's going to help the video. Alright. When we open our minds to the suppressed knowledge, we understand that the world we think we live in is only one frequency range of existence. As I mentioned earlier, creation consists of infinite dimensions of life vibrating at different speeds. Think of the frequencies of the countless radio and television stations broadcasting to your area now. They are all sharing the same space that your body is occupying. You can't see them, and they can't see each other because they are vibrating to a different frequency. When you move the dial from one radio station to another, the first station does not suddenly stop broadcasting because you are no longer listening. It goes on broadcasting, existing, just as before. The only difference is that you are no longer tuned to its frequency. All the infinite frequencies of life and existence in all creation are sharing the same space. Most people call these different frequency ranges dimensions, and that's fine because people know what that means. More accurately, though, they are called densities because the slower that energy vibrates, the more dense and solid it appears. The faster it vibrates, the more ethereal and non-physical it seems to be. Eventually, it is vibrating so quickly that it leaves the frequency range, the density of our physical senses, and we cease to see it. The frequency range we can see, I will call the third density and the third dimension. At the moment, we are tuned to this frequency, the range of our physical senses, and so we can see it and touch it. When we quote-unquote die, we leave this frequency range in our physical body, and we continue our eternal journey elsewhere on another density or dimension. Our consciousness, the thinking, feeling us, is eternal. In the end, all frequencies and all expression of life are the same energy. We are each other. This is the law of one that the Illuminati Temple of the Suns has sought for thousands of years to suppress. Some ETs and other dimensional beings know how to change their frequency so they can move in between densities and appear and disappear, just as a radio dial. This is why people have reported seeing entities disappear before their eyes. They have not in fact disappeared at all. They have left the frequency range that we can access. This goes for UFOs as well. So let's get into that.
Okay, so there's a lot to break down.
There's a lot to break down, but I feel it's a good explanation of densities. Understanding the metaphor radio frequencies. So say I'm tuned into 101.5, right? I'm listening to 101.5. I change it to 94.3. That doesn't mean 101.5 stops. It's simply I'm just no longer tuned into that frequency.
Mm-hmm. It's thinking of the brain as a receiver of information, consciousness, etc., rather than the one that creates it. So there's different levels to reality that we can access through our brain and through our perception, but you need to tune yourself to different frequencies through your vibration to access those different realities.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's not a new concept. It's just like with the sun. When it goes away at night, it's not like the sun isn't there. It stops heating the earth or providing light. It's just on the other side. We don't see it currently. And then it comes in tune with us and we see it.
Yeah, and that goes back to all things being energy and all things giving off frequencies. So like the densities say, the higher vibration the frequency is giving off, the higher of density that you can tune into. So when he talks about interdimensional beings, he's saying rather that there's other beings out there that we just can't perceive with our eyes because they're tuned at a higher frequency than we are. And that is talking about our third dimension and right now us being in the third density because that is all that we can see right now.
Okay, so that's a good explanation. That leads us right into the law of one. So the law of one is a channeled text, right?
Yep.
And it was done in the 1980s, and it was led by Jim McCarty, Don Elkins, and Carla L. Rucker. And what they did, they were all UFO researchers to begin with, and what they did was they realized that there was a way that they could initiate contact with extraterrestrial beings rather than wait to see them. Exactly. So they put the girl Carla under a trance and hypnotized
her. Deep meditative state.
Hypnotized her, and then they were able to channel this entity, Ra, through her.
Ra being a higher dimensional consciousness that came through the vehicle, Carla, to express his or her version of the universe to us.
The thing that Ra said, there's 5 books of it, the Law of One, right?
5 tapes, rather.
Tapes, rather? Yeah, exactly. Direct transcripts of what Ra said to Don through Carla, because Carla was speaking the words for Ra as he... The same way a demon would take somebody over in a horror movie is the same way that Ra would take over Carla and would speak through her voice. She had no... She was unaware that it was occurring. She was just out of her body.
But
It
Ra...
wasn't her speaking.
Exactly.
Yes, but Ra coming through a sense of light and love from the infinite creator.
Exactly.
All peace and wisdom with Ra.
This is more there than mine. I haven't read this yet.
So Ra is a high 6th density being, right? As he claims, or they claim.
So vibrating at a much higher level than we would in this 3rd density.
As we're 3rd density, 4th density, right? So now we're going to get into the densities, which is the first density, which is very easy to explain, is the first density of consciousness, which would be fire, air,
The
water,
elements.
earth, ether,
We'll
right?
include the ether.
Exactly.
Don't forget about the 5th element of ether. They don't want you to know about the 5th element.
They just be. They are beingness.
First density is all beingness. Think about the ocean. The
fire
ocean
just
is
existed.
always moving. It's never stopped because the ocean is alive. Rather, it's alive through consciousness. It doesn't have the same consciousness as me and you, but it simply just is. It's the sense of beingness that the ocean has. Same with fire, earth, and the air.
It's
all
like
around.
the
And this
earth
is-
itself.
And that's exactly how a lot of Native Americans and ancient peoples looked at the world, right? They might have had a better grasp of reality than we do now, right?
Yeah, like the story of the Earth being on the big turtle's back, of the Earth
Yes,
literally
yes.
being alive. How they viewed it,
Exactly.
just a story.
Exactly. Mother Gaia, like she's alive and always moving, always alive, breathing.
The first density is of fire, air, water, and earth, like we said.
Okay.
But it also has its mineral and water, learning from the wind and fire to be awareness of its being. So the mineral and the earth and water rather learn from the fire and the winds to simply become awareness of their beingness. And this is an atomic body because it's just all things atomic: earth, water, fire, land, right, air.
Mhm.
And that has, Ross says, it has a life cycle of 2 billion years. So say you're the ocean and this could be anywhere throughout the universe as well, not just on Earth, but we're understanding it in terms of Earth, right? So you're existing as this beingness consciousness for 2 billion years before you can go on and transcend to the 2nd density.
So the 2nd density is that of growth, right? And that 2nd density of growth encompasses plants and animals specifically, right? So animals are not self-aware yet. They're operating off of ego, which is that survival instinct inside of them.
And that's at the most high level of the 2nd dimension.
Exactly, the highest level. The lowest level
Why they're
would
so
be
close
tree.
to us, and we can communicate with them.
Mhm.
And not just dogs, other mammals
yeah.
too.
Exactly. Look at dolphins who have that almost where they're aware of themselves. They have a community. Same with monkeys.
Yeah.
They'll have a
Dolphins,
community.
whales,
Dolphins are highly
elephants
conscious.
communicate
They go
with sound waves.
and they're communicating
It's just their language.
at electromagnetic waves through
Exactly.
using their sonar, right? We all know about that.
Mhm. The beingness of the first density has an atomic body. That of the 2nd density would have a chemical body.
Chemical
Correct.
body meaning like physical, like you and I.
Exactly. So
And again, that could be anything from the lowest of the 2nd dimension, because
insects all the way
because
through.
all that of the densities, you have to awaken to the fact that you have consciousness, right? So at the lowest of the 2D, we'll have the grass, the plants, the trees, because they're simply alive, but they're not really. They're self-aware of themselves, but not in the way that they can communicate with others. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Whereas you get to the highest levels of the 2D, you have things like dogs, cats, domesticated animals, because they're self-aware. You have a dog, Tisha, she's right upstairs. Tisha's self-aware of her beingness because your family has assigned her a name. So with that name, she can understand that she is separate from another golden retriever, but she still feels that they're all oneness. You know what I'm saying?
We're out to 3rd density now, which is that of self-awareness. Correct?
Yeah.
And in self-awareness is when the ego and the conscious mind meet. Okay? So that's when that's when you understand and have a conscience of good, evil, right, wrong, right?
Duality.
Service to others would be the service of love, right? And appreciating, connecting the universe, which would follow the law of one. The law of one states that all beings in the universe are one body acting together, one consciousness, one infinite
The universe
creator.
just existing through us.
Exactly. So the universe is existing through us, and it states that my consciousness, my awareness is just an expression of the creator sent down to its experience itself. As the infinite creator wants to infinitely create and infinitely experience all at the same time.
Because the only way it could experience and create is to give us examples of like ourselves or the human population.
When you pick a polarity, which would be service to self or service to others, you also put yourself on a path, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the service to others path would put you on a path through the densities, which would put you right up to love, right? So we serve,
Which is a fourth density way of living.
which is the fourth density way of living, right? And that's what Jesus taught in a lot. He taught about love. He taught about the law of one. He had those messages in his teachings. He is the archetype of the fourth density.
Jesus is a consciousness that already transcended all of the lower levels, the first, second, and third, all the way to the fourth, right? So Jesus is a consciousness. His spirit existed somewhere else in the spirit world, but God the Father sent him down into this third dimensional existence as a human, as in human form, to express the higher levels of consciousness, the 4D, all about love. That's why Jesus' teachings get distorted, because people were perceiving him as just another human being, another person, just being like, oh, who's this guy telling me he's the Son of God? No, he's not the Son of God. We're all sons of God in the sense that Jesus was just tapped into the higher level of consciousness, the love, light consciousness.
Christ consciousness.
Christ consciousness.
He was tapped into not only his chemical body, which is this physical
His light.
incarnation, but his light body. He understood that everything is light, everything is energy, everything is consciousness. And he just wanted to spread that message.